What's going on, everybody? Hunter Scott, you get your order, bud? Scott, Jason, good to see you on here, bud. Let a few people join on here and we'll fire up. I feel like I'm forgetting something. I don't know what it is. Jason Buell, what do you mean mooring? I thought you slowed down on drinking. Come on. Good, Hunter. I'm glad you got that. Yeah, just let me know if you need some more. Scott, we got a good little shower here at the house today, too. I need it bad on the property. I've missed a lot of the rains we've had here down there on the property, even though it's 45 minutes south. And if it wasn't for this show tonight, I'd be driving down there right now to see if I got anything, check the rain gauges, but it's going to have to wait. It's driving me nuts not knowing if we got anything or not. Kevin McFarland, good to see you on here, bud. Got a pretty good little episode tonight here with some soil prep. We'll fire up here in a minute, let a few people join on and say our hays and all that stuff and go from there. Kind of wondering if we were going to have to cancel this tonight or not, because we got some good rain here today, but good little shower of rain, but man, they're getting storms all the way around me. I mean, we just I watched it go across today twice, right before it hits here at the home farm. It splits up and goes south and goes north, heading to the east. And man, there's some golf ball size hail just right down the road from us, whole 9 yards. And Champaign, the closest one to me, about 35 miles away from me, they had 65 mile an hour straight line winds here about an hour and a half ago. And they say it could pop up here at any time. Something to do, I don't know. They said it's not really storm related. It's just like these 15-minute bursts of 60 to 75 mile an hour south straight line winds. And I hope we don't get any of that right now. But right now it's clear as a bell out there, so we should have some good internet service for that. Scott, yeah, you're right. It's going to be a great topic tonight, especially with everybody getting ready to plant. That's kind of why I planned it around that. Jason, the weather's crazy, man. Like you're saying, you had tornadoes close by and you never have tornadoes in your area. It's been crazy this year. I don't know. Kevin saying it's getting ready to storm there in Ohio. Yeah, all that stuff you're probably getting by is it came from us. It was coming by fast earlier today, heading straight towards you. It was actually northwest of us, and it was coming down on us. But as soon as it got down to about central Illinois, it turned and went straight. I mean, just went straight east. Scott, it's so flat here, you can watch your dog run away for 3 days. I mean, when they start talking winds here, we hunker down a little bit. You never know what you're going to get. Old Danny Robinson. Buddy, hope you're doing good, man. Kevin asked some best food plot seed for sand in Wisconsin. Sandier soil, I'm going to go with Slam Dunk. Maybe a little fall, winter, spring. Game Changer Clover for a perennial. The other two are annuals. Radishes work very well in a sandier soil. So my go-to for that for an annual mix for a fall planting, I'm going with Slam Dunk. And then in the spring planting, I'll go with the Game Changer Clover. If you're in a sunnier area for the Slam Dunk. Excuse me. If you're in a shaded area, kind of go with the No Sweat or the game changer clover. But if you got a good sun, good 5 hours of sun a day, that slam dunk works the best. All right, let's fire this stuff off. You guys, you got questions, throw them in here. You know how it is. I'll go back and forth looking for them. But, the planting season is right. It's coming up on us. And for some of you in the north, it's really coming on quick. Here in central Illinois where I'm at, I'm usually trying to plant no earlier. My window is the 1st of August or the 15th of August. But for the last 4 or 5 years, we've been in such a drought. It's just ridiculous. So when we get in a drought like that and we're getting behind the 8 ball and we don't know what we should plant, because let's just say, let's go with the honey hole mix. Actually, the honey hole mix, a lot of people use that honey hole mix. That's one of the mixes that a lot of people are using. Here, I'm going to plant that August 1st to the 15th. That's my window. That's when I want it in, especially for the germination, the maturity. I want it in about that time. Now, let's say that I'm getting to the 15th of August. It is dry as a bone. The seeds are just going to sit there like it did on me last year. I planted it. You've heard me say it a million times. I planted it the 15th of August with the rain that was supposed to come that evening. They were saying we're going to get about a good inch of rain. It went all the way around me. That honey hole set from the 15th of August on the ground, compacted in till the 3rd of October before I finally got my first rain. And it was so dry the weeds wouldn't even grow. So it's still a bare dirt plot with hardly no weeds at all in it. But with that seed sitting there dormant, it's not rotten. The seeds are so small, a lot of the birds aren't taken away from you. So after that rain, the germination happened. It started growing, but it didn't have the time that it needed before the first frost hit to get matured out. So it was only this tall instead of this tall. So, and little tiny bulbs on it. So if I'm at that point where I come up to the 15th of August in my area, the honey hole, if I can't plant it then it's too dry, that's where I'm going to something like the Lights Out, the Southern Greens, them 2 mixes there, you can plant later. I'll start planting them mixes there usually about Labor Day weekend, and I'll plant them all the way up till October before deer season rolls in, just because I know they're going to throw some fast growth out there and the deer are going to eat them. They're going to offer more tonnage than what the honey hole is going to. If you try, like it happened to me last year in October, finally started growing. So the Southern Greens, the Lights Out, the 2 best for a late planting when you can't get your other stuff in at the time you want it in and need it in. So, but let's get to the soil prep a little bit. Okay, that's what we're on here for. Soil prep is kind of right there hand in hand with the pH of your soil. You check your pH of your soil, you add lime, get the pH up, you're going to have a better plot. Same way as soil. The more ground prep you do, the better off you're going to have in a plot. So I get the question asked a lot. I've had it 2 or 3 times a day about, can I just go kill an area off and throw this seed down? Is it going to give me a catalog cover picture? 99% of the time, no. Clovers, on the other hand, I kind of like it. Doing a no-till type application with a bare dirt plot. But when you get into your annuals, you're going to have some growth. You're going to have a nice plot as long as you're getting the moisture. But the more ground prep you do, the better off you are. Now, with me, a lot of us don't have the time for this. And sometimes I don't have the time, but I try to make it. If you are having enough moisture through the year, and you can actually look at this on a blog that I wrote on our website at antlerking.com, that I wrote it many years ago. When it comes to prepping a plot, you're always, anytime you work soil, you're going to bring weed seeds up from the top or from the bottom, you're going to bring them to the top. Then weed seeds are going to germinate. They're going to start growing normally faster than anything you plant, just because they are a fast germination type plant. And then a lot of people think, well, that's something that came in the mix. It's just weed seeds. There's going to be weed seeds for the rest of our lives and our grandchildren's lives and their grandchildren's lives in the soil. Anytime you work ground, it brings them weed seeds up. They get to the surface, they germinate, they start growing. And that's one reason we always say a clover plot, your first year plot, is the ugliest plot ever, because them weeds will outgrow them good perennial clover. The germination rate, they're so much faster than the germination rate on a good perennial clover that you'll have a weedy, grassy mess just because you work the soil. And that's why I said a lot of times I won't work the soil when I do my clovers. But how I like to prepare a plot, and again, it's not for everybody. You don't have the time, but I will go in. Let's say I know I'm going to plant between the 1st of August, the 15th to the 15th August. I'm usually starting about June, sometime early June. I'll go in and spray my clover off. And when I say that, if you weren't on here a couple weeks ago, I always plant clovers in the springtime on my annual plots, because I want them clovers to suck in all that nitrogen from the atmosphere and store it in the soil, which is going to feed these annual plants I'm going to plant in the fall of the year. So I'm actually feeding the deer and I'm feeding the soil at the same time. So I'll go in, I will spray and kill off my clover plot. After I'll wait about a week, it'll start getting a kill on it. I'll go in and I'll till it under. And I'll usually till it 6 to 8 inches under. I'll till it good. Then I will come back when it starts to green back up, and I will spray it again. And then I will go in about a week later and I will go down about 3 to 4 inches. I'll till it under again, break it up really good. I will do the exact same process one more time. As soon as it starts greening up, that is at the time that I know I'm going to be planting very shortly after. So it starts greening up, I'll spray it, I'll let it kill off, and then I will just lightly break up the top surface to turn it under. And I mean lightly, I'm usually going 1 inch to no more than 2 inches. I'll lightly break up that top with the disc or the tiller. And I get a lot better results as a weed-free bed doing that than I do just going in, killing it, working the ground, and planting, because you're always pulling them seeds up. So, and I found is in stepping that tiller up from 8 inches to 4, 5 to 6 inches, and then up to that 1 inch to 2 inch mark, I'm not pulling as much weed seeds up. And what I did pull up, I've already killed off. So you're never going to get rid of all of them. You're always going to have weeds. As long as you break the soil, you're always going to have weeds and grasses come up. But that's where I found the best method for a weed-free plot. Now, don't get me wrong. It's a lot of work, a lot of time, and a lot of us don't have that. So if you're getting in there and you only can go in one time, spray the area off and till it, only till it lightly, that 1 to 2 inches. Now, if we want to get technical here, the best thing you can do on a plot, especially if you've worked the soil quite a bit, or if it's a brand new plot, go to a farm store or go get you a piece of rebar and put your T-handle on the end of it. Make you a tile probe that you can stick into the soil. You know, that is the best way to tell where the pan is on your soil. When I mean the pan, I mean the hardness of your soil. So if I can get out there and I can stick that rebar or that tile probe in, like I'm checking for a pipe, you know, I'm sticking her in the ground. If I can get that to go down with no problem, and I can go down 12, 18 inches, I'm happy-go-lucky. Now, you get into more clay soil where you can get a hard pan that the root systems will have a hard time getting through. You get down there 4, 5, 6 inches, and it's like you're hitting concrete. That's where you need to tear that soil up. You need to rip it as good as you can to break that pan apart to allow them roots to be able to grow through that soil. So long as you can get down to 1 foot to 18 inches, you're good to go, no problem. And you'll still grow good at 5 to 6. But if you want best results out of it and healthier plants, if you do get a hard pan in that and you can't partly push it through 6 or 8 inches down, rip the heck out of it, tear it up. I mean, I've had plots where I've had to take a plow in there, no moldboard plow, and just rip it up, just roll the sod. And I hate doing that just because the weed seeds and all that stuff. but you have to every once in a while, especially if you're in an area that has a lot of clay in it. Luckily, where I'm at, I got a lot of black dirt and don't hardly have that problem. But if you don't have the time to go in there and do the 3 steps like I do, go in there and kill that area off, lightly till it, and then get ready for seeding your plot. But if you do have the time, that 3 steps, excuse me, guys, that 3 steps right there will really help you with the weeds in the area. Now, a lot of these annual mixes, like the honey hole, the grade 8, stuff like that, them are a pretty fast growing plant. So a lot of times, even if you have some weed and grass issues, they're gonna outgrow them and shade them out, and you're not gonna see it as much as like you would with your clovers, your alfalfas, your chicories, stuff like that. But soil prep is key. Number 1 is always the pH of your soil. You got to get that pH of that soil up. Number 2, the proper prep. Now, I've talked about working the soil. Now let's talk about preparing it. You're listening to a guy that has probably done every single thing that could possibly be wrong as in working soil. I've done them all. I've done every single one of them. I have learned from my mistakes. I'm the guy that will actually go in and do something that somebody tells me you should not do just to see why I shouldn't do it, because I want to see firsthand. So I do a lot of testing on doing stuff like that. I mean, you're talking to the guy that will plant worm seeds and grasses. He'll frost seed them just to see if they grow, because people tell me they won't. I'm going to look to see if they will. You know, I like doing stuff like that. That's just the testing part that I love doing, and just seeing why things won't or why they will when they shouldn't. And believe me, there's a lot of things out there that will grow when they shouldn't grow. And but no, I don't recommend all of them, but I mean, they will work. So I've actually frost seeded switchgrass before. Works perfect. Works great. But I don't recommend it. But now let's get back to preparing that soil. If you could buy anything out there that will help you, if there's one thing, actually there's 2 actually, but there's one thing that is probably not the cheapest investment you ever have in a food plot, but it's one that is the most effective, and that is a cultipacker. A cultipacker, if you're wanting to do food plots right and you're not drilling, no till and stuff like that, if you're not doing that, a cultipacker is the way to go. For many years, and I have many of them, they're leaning up against the barn anymore. I've got chain drags, I've got harrow sections that I've drug over plots. Now they're just barn ornaments is all they are, because I've finally seen what they actually hurt, and they hurt a lot more than they help. So, and a lot of times it's user error and not the equipment. But a good cultipacker, like you guys know with me, when it comes to a cultipacker, the Packer Max is my best friend. I mean, it's something that I will use. There's never a time I will not use this piece of equipment. When it comes to planting a food plot the proper way, getting compaction, bringing up the moisture, that is the machine I am going to use. I'm telling you right now, I'm not sponsored by them. I'm a dear friend of the owner. I did not know the owner until I got my first Packer Max. And I've ran one for years, and I cannot wear it out. So if you're looking for an inexpensive cultipacker, that's the way to go. I don't know where you guys are at, but here in Illinois, where I'm from, when the price of scrap steel went crazy here 10 years ago, the year before that, you could go out to any barn lot and any farmer would give you an old cultipacker section. You could build your own. They all hold them to the junk here. You can't find a piece of cultipacker around here nowhere unless they're using it. So something like this is very inexpensive for what it is, and is the best tool I got. Now, the other tool I'm talking about is you got to have something to pull it. So an ATV, that Packer Max there, I pull it every year with just my big red 3-wheeler, my Honda. But they make a 6-footer too that works very well, especially for the side by sides and the utility tractors. 3-point hitch, pull behind. And again, it sounds like a commercial, but I'm just telling you, if I was going to go out and buy one right now, and I ran a lot of call the packers in my time, and I got a couple 12 footers that are crazy big. They're way too heavy for food plots. And that's another thing to really look at. You can get too big and heavy when it comes to call the packer when you're working with a food plot in a hurry. So I like staying, if I'm compacting an area, I like to stay between that 400 to 600 pounds is what I like to do. Now, I'll go up a little bit more if it's a little bit wider, but in that one that I'm running there, you cannot over compact the soil to hurt yourself. Where you get out there with my 12 footer that I got to pull with a big tractor, it will literally pack the soil too tight and for what I'm wanting to use it for. So another thing I had to learn from my mistakes. I had no clue. I was just using a call the packer thing. It was the best thing in the world, not realizing I was hurting myself because I was pushing the seeds way too deep into the soil. But when I said I got away from the harrows and the drags and the chain drags and stuff like that, them harrow sections are great. But, I always flipped it upside down, the spikes up, and I would drag, thinking I was lightly dragging over the seed, putting a little bit of dirt on them. These seeds are so small. Now with peas, corn, stuff like that, you can get by a little more with. But these seeds are so small that mostly what we're working with, that you will literally cover them too much and you'll lose germination rate. And so with a good call the packer, the best thing to do, kill that plot off, work that soil when it's ready. When you get ready to seed, you want to go in there and you want to compact that soil. You always compact prior to planting. You always want to plant on a firm seed bed, never a loose one, because Mother Nature throwing you some good rain will push them seeds way too deep and you'll lose germination and you won't have nothing there. So always compact the soil. Then you will come back and you'll seed it and then compact it again. Now with me, there's only one reason I do it this way, and it's because I can see where I'm going. I will always come in and call the pack one way, seed my plot, broadcast it, and I will call a pack it the opposite way. I will cut my tracks the next time. The only reason I do that, if you see me doing it on videos, the only reason for that is because then I can see where I've been. Because if you try to stay on the same tracks, you kind of lose where you've been. So I always just cut the track. But the call the packer is by far the number one thing that has helped me build the plots that I build now. And it took me quite a few years to realize that I needed one. And then it took me a few more years to realize that I was using too heavy a one. And then when I found this Packer Max, I love it. You just can't beat it. It is perfect. It helps pull that moisture up down from down deep. It'll suck that moisture up, and it'll help with the germination rate, the whole 9 yards. So that is, I guess I want to say the method that I like to use when it comes to prepping soil, working soil. Another thing I could kind of add to this, and I could have added it a little earlier, but I was really onto the soil stuff, is the proper fertilization. Now, we've talked about this a few shows ago, but always go with the proper fertilizer that you need for the blend. Like with us, all of our bags here on the back, they tell you what we test it with, what works the best, how many pounds per acre. And if you can't find that, just get something close to it. You're looking at annual plots that you're getting ready to start planting now. Some will be planting some perennials, but mostly going to be annuals. The annuals that you're planting now, they love nitrogen. They need the nitrogen. So when you're working that soil, start thinking about it. When you work that soil that last time, get that fertilizer on there and then work it in with the tiller or the disc that you're running with. Because nitrogen, you'll actually lose nitrogen by evaporation. So if you don't get a rain right away, that nitrogen will evaporate. So you need to work it in that soil. It'll help the breakdown process, and it allow your plants to have the nutrients they need, and you're not losing it by evaporation. So that's just one other step you can add to, checking your soil, killing it off, tilling it. Prior to tilling it, if you're only tilling it one time, get the fertilizer down, till it under, and then you're starting with your call the packing, seeding, call the packing again, and praying to Mother Nature for some moisture. So, and it'll work out very well for you. But the weeds are what get you the most in these plots. I get phone calls on it daily on how to get rid of weeds and certain things. When it comes to an annual mix, it is almost impossible to get weeds out of an annual mix just because you're going to kill 75% of whatever's in that mix that you got. So grasses, no problem. But the weeds is another thing. So the more ground prep you can do, the better off you are. So let's jump into my favorite thing in the world, which is clover, our trophy clover mix. Let's look at something that prepping the soil and doing the 3-step method like I do works very well. That's the best way to do it. If I can't do that 3-step method and I didn't get it seeded during frost seeding time or overseeding time, which I call overseeding, which is my favorite time ever. I never frost seed anymore. I don't even think about it. I like to overseed after the frost is out of the ground. So then I can see what clovers are coming up. And then I know that I'm not going to overseed too much seed in that plot. It's very, very easily, and I know I'm getting off topic, very easily to overseed an existing clover plot by frost seeding. And I'm not telling you not to do it, but it is very, very easy. It's better off with the spring rains that we get. Wait till that frost gets out of the ground. Wait till that clover comes back to life. It starts emerging. Then you'll see all them bare spots that you thought were all this bare. You'll see all these clovers coming back up. So by seeding over that during a frost seed, you're going to overseed that area. Then plants are going to starve each other. You'll never have a healthy plot like you should. So I will always wait till here where I'm at. It's usually April, almost May before I'm even overseeding into my plots, because, you know, with frost seeding, you're waiting for that frost, that thaw during the day, freeze at night to suck that seed in. After that frost gets out of the ground, we're starting to get the rains. Mother Nature has set them seeds that you overseed with. So that's my favorite time. But if I can't work the soil the way I want to with the 3 steps that I do to get it more of a weed-free plot, I will kill the area off and get rid of all the thashes on it. If I got to burn it, rake it off, whatever, and I will overseed my clover over top of that bare dirt prior to a good rain. So, and I have very, very good success that way and a lot less weedier mess. Now, again, my favorite way is the 3 steps that I do to work the soil, compact it, the whole 9 yards, and plant that way is by far my favorite. But a lot of times we just don't have it. And in the springtime of the year, if you're planting in the springtime of the year, Mother Nature might not allow you to, just because of all the rain we're getting. So that is really the only mix, except for like the no sweat, no till, the game changer clover. Them two, they're designed as more of a no-till type application, where they're designed to grow in that area that you just kill off, broadcast right over top before rain. The premium clovers will do about the exact same thing. The Booner Buffet, which is our alfalfa variety. Alfalfa is a very finicky plant, so I try not to tell people to do that, even though you will get some good growth out of it. It's always best with alfalfa to work the soil and do it the right way, because if you're using like this alfalfa and the Booner Buffet, there's 2 different varieties of premium alfalfa. They are very, 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 very finicky, very hard to grow unless you do everything right. Now you can go buy some other alfalfa that'll grow on this concrete floor with this hardwood floor on top of it. But these here are going to give you the highest yield, and they'll offer the more protein. They're just such a bigger, healthier plant, but they are finicky to grow. So do the best soil prep you can for them. But like the trophy clover mix, the game changer clover, the no sweat, them there you can do as a no-till application, long as you got some rain coming in and going to let Mother Nature set them seeds for you. So it'll work out very well. We're kind of getting away from the soil prep a little bit, but after a soil prep, usually you're going to have your plants are going to start growing. You know, prior to planting, if you want to use the Plot Max, which is a soil conditioner. The Plot Max is excellent for that. You can spray it prior to planting. And then your clover fuel and your jolt. After them plants are 3 inches tall, the jolt for your annuals, the clover fuel for your legume plants, which is your clovers, alfalfa, peas, soybeans. After them plants reach about 3 inches tall, you can hit them with it. So all this kind of goes together with, the Plot Max you can actually put on prior to planting, or you can put on after planting. So usually when I'm running Plot Max for a soil conditioner, I'm putting it on the exact same day that I'm seeding. Again, it's not a must-have. You don't have to have that, but it will just help the soil. It'll help break down the soil and allow them roots and plants to get the nutrition they need to the root system. So, but then we're just great products there. The Jolt and the Clover Fuel is going to give them plants, since they're a foliar fertilizer, it's really going to adhere to them plants and make them grow like crazy. But wait till them plants are up about 3 to 4 inches tall before you do it. All right, let's go through and see what I'm missing. I see this thing just rolling here. See what I got here. Jason Buell had honey hole set for a month in the rain, and it grew. Yep, that's exactly right, bud. No Mark Coleman on here. Jeff Johnson, appreciate it. Gary on here talking about he did my 3-step process last year and it helped him tremendously. I appreciate that, bud. I'm glad it worked for you. Mark, when you're asking, what would you say for food plots when there isn't a lot of soil, but it still grows like soil? There isn't a lot of soil, but it still grows like soil prep. But I don't understand what you're saying there, bud. Let me know what you really mean there. Jeff Johnson. So he tried overseeding last year's annual plots this spring to rotate his clover plots. Timing with rain was perfect, and compacted into 90% weed-free soil bed. Got nothing growing. Wonder what happened. Jeff, that's a good one there, but if you had nothing grow at all, something is very, very wrong right there with soil. That's very odd that you had nothing growing in a 90% weed-free soil bed. What time of year did you plant that, bud? Which really don't matter, but that's odd. Kevin's asking, what are your thoughts about overseeding a non-existing food plot to get a jump start? Kevin, if you got the bare area, I mean, there is nothing wrong with overseeding into a non-existing food plot. As long as you got good soil showing, you need seed to soil contact. So yeah, I have no issue with that at all. Tyler Norris, good to see you on here, bud. Said planted some trophy clover this spring. Never seen a clover mix grow so thick and full so fast. Southeast Ohio. Got a great amount of rain this spring. But my question is, how early is too early to mow or spray a few months old clover plot for weeds? I always want my clover on a new plot. I want that clover to be at least 3 inches tall before I ever start getting on it. And that is with ATV, anything like that. mowers, ATVs, side-by-sides, anything. So with clover, you definitely want to mow that clover when it flowers. But for weed and grass control, you can mow after that clover gets 3 inches tall or so. You can mow that clover as much as you want to start helping with weed and grass control. You can mow weekly, as long as Mother Nature is giving you the moisture that you need to keep that clover going. You can mow it as much as you want for weed and grass control, but always mow it when it flowers, when it's matured out. Drew, I appreciate it, bud. So he's going all in with Antler King. I appreciate that very much. Jeremy, good to see you on here, bud. Let's see here. Rob's on here. Good to see you, bud. In the next, I'm going to plant buckwheat to build up the soil and sandy soil. Would you recommend doing this as a soil builder? Absolutely. Absolutely. Buckwheat is a very good soil builder. Cereal rye, clovers, alfalfas, chicory. Cereal rye is probably one of the best. Winter wheat. I mean, all of them are very good soil builders. I highly recommend that. Jeff, you planted that clover in April. That is very, very odd that you didn't get any growth at all. It just don't make any sense at all. Okay, Mark's back on here. Where our property is, there isn't a lot of soil. We're on a rock edge. We have maybe 4 inches of soil, maybe more than others. I was curious if you had any soil prep ideas for them. We currently run no-till, where we put our buckwheat out now. In 7 weeks, plant our fall plots. Mark, lightly, I mean, if you can work the soil and it's not too rocky and you got 4 inches of topsoil, lightly just break up that top. This is where a good harrow section does come in play. To just get in there with the tines down, drag it behind your garden tractor, your ATV, whatever, and just rough up that top. The more you can just rough the top up, the better off you are for germination. So you don't have to get in there with a tiller or a disc, but it's nice if you can, if it's not too rocky. But that little top layer is going to do wonders. Jeffrey, good to see you on here, bud. Have the same problem with Cloverfield. pH tested, lime, fertilizer, and just didn't grow. Tilling that one up tomorrow, and we'll plant Antler King in August. Guys, it's really odd the problem you're having with clover, because I don't care what clover variety that you have or use, or if it's ours or the competitors, what, you should be having germination and growing with that on how you guys are doing it, how your lime is. The only thing that I have ever seen where, well, as long as you've grown plots in there and you don't have, I mean, I've seen soil with a fungus in it that'll kill those seeds when they germinate, stuff like that. But if you're in an area where that you normally plant and you've never had an issue, the only thing I've ever seen is where people have used 2,4-D on the property, and it leaves a residual and it will kill the seeds. So that's the only thing I've ever seen. But as an actually just going in and overseeding right over on top of a bare area, I mean, you can throw clover out in a rock driveway and you'll have germination. So something is very odd there, and I'd like to help you get to the bottom of it if we can figure a few more things out, because that is very, very, very uncommon and very odd. Oh, Marcus, good to see you on here, bud. Mark, you're saying the only thing you're missing is a cultipacker. That you have a roller. A roller works well. I like a groove cultipacker myself better, but long as you're compacting that soil prior to planting, a roller works perfect. For many years before I even got my first big cultipacker, I would literally take the ATV and drive back and forth across the plots and pack it down with the weight of the bike on the tires. And I'd just go back and forth a million times, just following them tracks. That's how I would used to cultipack a lot of my plots. And so a roller, as long as you're compacting that soil, you're one step ahead, bud. Jason saying you have talked about not spraying clover before doing a fall planting, rolling the green under for more nitrogen. Should we spray it with Roundup or leave it? You will always get more nitrogen added to the soil by turning under a green plant. Certain plants. The clover is one of them. So yes, if you want to turn the green clover under and let it rot out, it's going to give you more organic matter, and it will raise up your nitrogen levels in your soil better than a dead plant will. So yes, turn it under green. There's nothing wrong with that. Sean, you're talking about you got a pH of 7.5. What doesn't grow well in alkalines? A 7.5, you can grow everything that's here, bud. Anything that we carry will grow great in a 7.5. So now if you were down to, if you was up to like an 8.5, something like that, which is very uncommon, you're kind of getting scary. But 7.5, there was nothing to be worried about at all when it comes to planting anything that we carry for a food source. Scott, I've got sightly sandy soil. I got Game Changer and Trophy Clover coming out to the wazoo. You got her planted there, bud. That's good. Them are two of my favorite mixes. Trophy Clover, they could fire me today and I'd plant it tomorrow. That is one of my favorite mixes that we have had. The crazy thing about it is that Trophy Clover is the very first mix that Todd came out with back in the late 80s, and it's still our number one selling perennial today. Honey Hole followed right behind it. It's our first annual mix that we came out with back in the late 80s. It's still our number one selling annual to this day. It's crazy that two products that started this, actually the first product started it was a Trophy Clover. I mean, the Trophy Deer Mineral. But the first two seed varieties are still our number one selling varieties. And I am blown away. If anybody read it, I put a post up on the Antler King food plot page last week talking about the proper way to plant honey hole. And I had 5 million people blow it up commenting on how deer won't eat turnips and they won't eat this and they don't eat brassicas. I have never in my life seen a deer not eat a turnip or brassica if it's in soil that they will grow in right. I have seen it where you can plant brassicas in an area and the deer will not touch them just because of soil content. But a mile down the road, you can't get them to leave them alone. But it's weird on how our number one selling mix is a turnip product, but everybody says they don't work. It just blows me away. Donnie, do you have a schedule when you're live? Very informational session. Seem to stumble across you sometimes when you're live. Donnie, I'm on every other Tuesday. So at 7 o'clock every other Tuesday, all the way till October 1st. So 2 weeks from tonight, I'll be back on again, but it's always 7 o'clock every other Tuesday. Jeff, you're right. Todd designed the Trophy Clover and the honey hole, he designed it right. He did the research. And that's one thing that makes us stand out from others, the research that we take in. And not saying others don't research. Please don't get me wrong there. I'm not saying that. But I know what we go through to bring a mix out. And it's a lot of work. A lot. When you're working with feed products, building blocks, it's not as bad. But to bring a mix out and to get it to grow properly, there is a science to it. I mean, if we don't test the mix for at least a minimum 3 to 4 years, something's wrong. Because that grade 8 mix, that was the biggest head scratcher you ever seen. You got 8 different varieties in that mix. You got plants this tall, you got plants this tall, you got plants this wide, you got plants this wide. You got plants that are high in energy, you got plants that are high in protein. You don't just throw them in a bag and throw them out and plant them, because they're going to starve each other for nutrition. One's going to shade the other one out. They're going to grow their own. So you got to pick plants that actually will mature out at different times. All 8 of them varieties will mature out at different times. That's how you get early season, mid-season, late season food. And that's just something you just can't throw in a bag and throw out there. The testing will drive you crazy to get to the result that you like, so you can give it to your customer. So when you hear me talk about our testing, when I mean it's crazy, it's crazy. I mean, and we have people testing it all over for us to give us their feedback. The Southern Green Mix, you know, another testing thing there. We made that for the Southern states. All of a sudden, Todd, he plants some up in northern Wisconsin. Boom, the deer are hammering it. Why are the deer hitting this so much? Go through, do some more testing for 2 years, find out the deer are hitting it everywhere we send it. Instead of the mixes that should have only been good for the fall, for the southern states. There's a lot to it. So when you always hear me talking about our testing, that's why I do, because I know what it's about. And I know it's hard to understand because you're not behind the scenes doing it. But that's what makes and breaks it. Danny Robinson, you're right. You know, you've only seen clover fail if it germinates and then dries out before the roots get established. That will do it. But how Jeff talked, it sounded like he was getting all kinds of moisture. So that's what threw me for a loop. Yeah, Jason, the honey hole and the trophy clover mix are 2 mixes that are just foolproof. Scott, Robbie, my bigger food plot is more rocky than my clover plots. I've had good success with winter wheat. What do you suggest for building the soil and feeding the deer at the deer in the fall? Fall, winter, spring, bud. Our fall, winter, spring blend with the cereal rye and the radishes and the peas, you cannot beat that mix. Very easy to grow, loves rockier soil, and is probably one of the best soil builders you can plant. All right, guys, we're getting close to time. You got some more questions? Throw them my way, because looks like we just got about 10 minutes here. Jeffrey, ordered trophy clover, reread our, we email them back. Email, we'll plant it July, August. When I plant the field, I didn't roll it. Nope, just jumped on me. I tilled till it got dark. So I not seeing the field before it poured. Yeah, exactly. You're good to go there, bud. As long as you got the rain on it and everything, you're probably good to go there. People's commenting here, so I'm trying to read this. The field, I didn't roll it. Hopefully, it didn't pour too much that it pushed them seeds too deep. You might have some germination loss in that, but let's just pray that it didn't happen. But that's something that can happen when it doesn't get cold packed good enough. And you can have a lot of washout that way too. Without loose soil, it can wash the soil out. Robbie, what is your favorite soil type, and what pH would you consider as the most ideal? Well, if you want to talk perfect, number one, pH is 7.0, but you can plant a lot of good plots from a 6.0 to a 7.0. If you can get a 6.0 to a 7.0, you're going to grow everything here just about as good as it can grow. You will lose some nitrogen or fertilizer. You will throw some money away on fertilizer just because the plants won't be able to utilize it unless you're all the way up to that 7.0, which is the only way they can utilize 100% of that fertilizer. But still, at a 6.0, to a 7.0, you're going to do very, very well. That is if you're in an area where you got a lot of sun, stuff like that. But me, I love black soil. I grew up in it. I played in it. I've ate it as a kid. I love it. Clay can get a little tricky. It can get harder and hammered hell on you. But black dirt can as well, but it's not as hard. But if it was me, I want black soil. I want a 6.8 to a 7.0 pH, and I'll be happy all day long. Brian Murray, where are you from? Asking about planting barricade right now. Where are you from, bub? Make sure I didn't miss somebody here. If I miss somebody, yell at me. Tell me to look for it. Just see what we got here. Jeffrey, it very could have. You got a good hard inch of rain. It might have went deep. Brian, Southern Michigan, you're getting pretty iffy, bud, on planting barricade. As in getting full 8-foot growth out of it. I will tell you this. If you decide to plant it now, you're going to get some good growth. Don't get me wrong. If you're planting it and you're getting the moisture, pour the nitrogen to it, bud, and you'll get the 8-foot no problem at all. As in just going out there planting it, not fertilizing it, and you get into a drought situation, you're probably very upset with the shield. But as long as you're getting some moisture this late in the game, I would pour the nitrogen to it as long as you're getting the moisture. And guys, when it comes to the barricade, even though it shows even on our website and everything that you can plant it later, which you can, the only negative thing about the later part of it is, like planting it right now and having it ready by October 1st, I have no issue with planting it right now and doing that. I have an issue of what lies in between it, as in a drought, no moisture. That's what slows the growth down. The time period's there. It just depends on what Mother Nature does to us. So me, as soon as the ground temp hits 60 degrees in the springtime of the year, my barricade goes in the ground. So then I know I'm going to have the spring rains on it, and I'm guaranteed I'm going to have a drought on it in the summer, and hopefully early fall, the rain's going to pick back up and help it out some more. So I want all the growth I can get before that drought hits. So I always plant as soon as that ground temp hits a constant 60 degrees, my barricade's in the ground. Good deal, Brian. Saying plenty of rain. I'd get it planted, bud, and get it fertilized. It loves nitrogen. Pour it to it. All right, guys, got any more questions for me? You got about 4 minutes left here before they're going to throw us off here. I think I covered everything soil prep for you. I hope. Yeah, that's another good way too, Brian. Yeah, you probably heard me say that before or read it somewhere, but you start seeing the farmers plant soybeans, that's a tattletale sign to get the barricade in the ground. Yep. Scott, I'd like to send you some pictures of bucks the last couple of years on my place and also my plots. We can say the Antler King products brought them in. Well, feel free, buddy. You're more than welcome to send them to me. Text them to me at 217-621-3289 or Robie at antlerking.com, whichever one you want to throw them at. And just to let you guys know, since I wasn't promoting it, that's why I'm not a very good salesman. Our pH test kits, one kit does 4 plots to the pH of your soil, how much lime you need to add. It'll work very well for you. So $15 package there that will test 4 different plots. It's money well spent just to know what that pH is, tell you exactly how much ag lime to put down per acre. But I will tell you, I only use pelletized lime, and you only got to use 1/10 of the amount. So whatever it tells you in ag lime, just do your multiplication, just do 1/10 of it, you're good to go. Jason, I appreciate you on here too, bud. And thanks for the order the other day. I'm glad you got it. All right, guys, if we don't have nothing else, we'll get off here. I think we kind of went through everything. I'll be on here in a couple of weeks, and I think we're going to do another 2 giveaways the next show. And as long as I can figure out what kind of little contest we're going to do, we're going to give away a couple things. So, but I appreciate you guys being on here tonight. And my phone is always on. Call me, email me, message me on Facebook, whatever. If you need anything, you just let me know. And you guys have a good night. You take care.